Okay, folks, so what you're going to see as we go through this is you're going to see we've loaded some data in, and we call it Tesco. You notice that there's a logo there. We'll show you how you can personalize your home screen so you can put your own logo up there. The thing about that, we recently made some changes in mygroundforce, and originally you could have up to 4 entities, but now you can have as many entities as you want to have, and we'll take you through that. In the upper right hand corner, when you log in, you'll notice it's telling you which company you're working with. If you click on that, then it'll give you all the companies that you have. So there's an organization there that you're working under, and then all the entities that are working underneath there. So there might be, right now, it might be one organization and then multiple entities. Ultimately, what you'll see here is it going to be called corporation, Letitia?
Yes.
The highest level of
no, the highest level is organization.
Okay, and then so how are we getting to more than 4 entities?
Yes.
So how are we doing
that? You can have more than one organization also.
Okay, all right, there we go.
Okay.
That's how we did it. So
if you have more than one biz account, for example, you can have more than one organization.
Yeah. So what we recommend is that for each mygroundbiz account, then you have an organization for that. So in other words, a mygroundbiz account login equals an organization. That's typically up to about 4 entities or something like that. And that way you can pay one subscription for all your tractors, even though they might be in multiple entities. So we can handle as many entities. The biggest number of entities I've seen so far is 9, and we can handle that. So, but it would be multiple mygroundforce logins, not mygroundforce, one mygroundforce login, but multiple mygroundbiz account logins, and we'll show you how to set that up. So whenever you log in, you come to the home page, and this is where we set up all the standard metrics. If you see a metric that you would like to, if you don't see a metric that you would like to have to tell you what's going on in your business, please let us know and we'll see if we can design it. We have several here. So the first one is total gross revenue, and all our dashboards allow you to select with or without fuel. So you see the deduct fuel block. You know that fuel surcharge goes up and down, right? So if you deduct fuel, then you'll get revenue figured out. It'll be consistent. FedEx is calling me here. Let me tell them to call somebody else. Hang on a second. Okay. So if you deduct fuel, then you'll have apples to apples comparison of what's going on with your revenue. Next to total gross revenue, we have revenue. By the way, you can choose, let me go back over here. You can choose by contract ID. You can choose by entity. You can choose by week ending. Everything that we do in mygroundforce is by settlement week. So that that's mostly how contractors think about things. And so that's how the software is set up. We're tractor based and settlement week based. And then you can select whatever you want to look at from those drop downs at the top of that screen there. And that's true of any metric. So if we look at revenue by payroll, this is a productivity metric that I've used in the corporate world in the past. It's simply a total gross payroll divided by total gross revenue divided by total gross payroll. And that gives you a productivity metric. It essentially tells you, what does $1 of labor buy me? And the higher that number, the more efficient your company is. And you can track that over time, and you can determine how efficient or productive your organization is. And again, in particular, in this metric here, you'd want to deduct fuel so that you would get an apples to apples comparison. Sorry, this station manager is blowing me up. You guys know how that is. All right, so scroll down, and we're going to look at, now you can compare productivity by driver. So you can pick the driver, you can pick week ending, and you can see what the productivity is for that driver. And then you can compare a bunch of drivers, and then you can see how they compare in terms of productivity. And then you can use that information to figure out why one driver is more productive than the other. Is it what you pay him? Is it what he's running? Is the other guy lazy? Whatever it is, and you can begin to make some adjustments in your business to address that. Then we have some miles by vehicle. You can pick any vehicle over any settlement week, and you can pick more than one vehicle. If you don't select any vehicles, it's all the miles for the company in a particular settlement week. So this gives you the ability, if you want to compare tractors in terms of mileage. Remember that what we do in mygroundforce is all settlement based. So we don't have GPS mileage in these charts, at least not yet. So what you see is settlement mileage, and we all know that's not exactly right, but it's apples to apples every week because we're using the same data set. Okay, if we scroll down now, we can see miles by driver. You can do the same thing here. Pick your entity, pick your contract, pick week ending, pick which driver or more than one driver, and you can see how many miles they drove. Then we have miles per gallon next to that. And you can include spots or leave spots out. You know, spots are going to get much lower gas mileage, but they are more, there is more revenue per mile on a spot. So then you can remember this tractor fuel miles per gallon is not going to be accurate, but it will be comparatively accurate week over week, because everybody's tractor is driving more than settlement miles. We all know that, right? We're not getting paid for all the miles that we run. We get paid settlement miles. So this will be off a little bit, but you'll be able to compare over time. And then if we scroll down here to tractor fuel miles per gallon by, wait a minute, is this the same? Didn't we just look at this? Can you scroll back up? So
this is by week ending, Tim. This is tractor fuel miles per gallon, and this is tractor fuel miles by week ending.
I don't know that there's any difference in those.
Yeah, I think it's just a difference on the naming of those.
I don't know, Letitia. This is, there's no difference in these two.
The difference is that the first one is comparing the vehicles. You can see all the vehicles.
Okay.
Let me see, filter the other one, Ricardo, please.
We have vehicles here too.
No, it's for week. It's for week ending, not for vehicle, you know? Are you seeing? Here I can see all the vehicles and compare the vehicles. And the other one I see for week ending.
Okay. So it's in a particular settlement week.
Yeah.
The other thing we can show you, there's some reports that might help you as well. So if I think about how I might operate every day, I come into mygroundforce, I look at my metrics. Those are going to update on Wednesday morning, and we're going to go through that in more detail, but you also have some reports. So if you click on reports, there's a lot of things here that we're going to go through. We're not going to do them all right now, but if you look under vehicle, you'll notice that you have under vehicle here, you'll notice that you have a fuel mileage by tractor report, a fuel usage by tractor report, a fuel purchase by state, a fuel gallons by state. And so those are some additional fuel reports that you can use. We also have the fuel surcharge exceptions report. We'll go more into that here in a little while. But if you were looking for IFTA information, we provide it there. You'll get the gallons, and you'll have to get the miles off your ELDs, but you will be able to get gallons. We organize, if you click on fuel purchase by state, Ricardo, and you just pick the date, so whatever dates you want to pick, then it will tell you, you know, how many gallons were purchased by a state. So that will help you if you're trying to do IFTA. So, okay, so let's go back to organization now. So we looked at the dashboard. We showed you the canned dashboards that you see. And remember, if there's another one that you think you might want to see, please let us know. But now we're gonna talk to you about how the system is organized. So we talked about that we have at the top level is organization. Well, if you think about it, the very top level will be the name of whatever holding company, if you have multiple entities that you want to name the whole thing. And then underneath that, you'll have multiple organizations. And this is where you would enter those. We're going to enter these for you. So part of the information that we would ask for onboarding is the name of your company, its entity ID, what's the contact information or whatever. But if we click on edit on Tesco, then you'll see the information that we collect here for each company, for each organization in this case. Then we have a contacts register. And then we also have some payroll settings. Now, as far as payroll settings go, you can set payroll settings here for line haul trips, or you can do it in employee payroll settings, and we'll show you how to do that later. But the one thing you probably do need to set here, if you go to shuttle, then here you can define what is a shuttle. So let's say that it's less than or equal to 50 miles. And then and you're gonna pay however you're gonna pay. In this case, we're gonna pay by flat rate table. So what that means then is that anytime the system sees a run that's 50 miles or less, then it's going to define that run as a shuttle, and it's going to go look in the flat rate table for what you pay for that. If you wanted to pay a percentage, you could define it, or if you wanted to pay a rate per mile in this, you could do that. Why have shuttles? Shuttles, as we all know, pay at a higher rate than regular line haul miles, and it usually requires more dropping hooks because you're doing more turns. So this is a way for you to pay the driver more on a per shuttle trip than paying him on a per mile. We have spot trips in here the same way, but I recommend paying those by flat rate, though we do create the ability for you to pay by mile or pay by percentage rate. And then we have PTO. This is one of we have the ability to track PTO, but there's the only thing more confusing than how people pay teams at FedEx is how people calculate PTO. And I don't have my head completely around that yet. Ultimately, you'll be able to do it in this system, but it's not fully functional yet. You can put information in there, but it might not exactly match how you're doing it. So that's what you would set up for each organization. So when we set this up for you, we'd ask you to send us that information. You don't have to remember all this because we're going to do the setup for you. If in the future you were to add another entity and you wanted help on this, you could just open a help desk ticket. But if you go back to entity registry, if you wanted to add another entity, you just click on the add button and go back through. Very simple. We designed this software to be very intuitive and extremely easy to use. Now notice on this organization tab here, on this entity registry, one of the things you can do is upload your logo. So you can, for every entity you have, you might have a different logo, and you can upload it right here. And then whenever you're looking at that entity in the system, it will show the logo at the top of the page. It will also include your logo on any reports that you create, whether you use those for your own purposes, or if you were to email that report to FedEx, it will put your logo on that report, except for the monthly maintenance report, because obviously that's a FedEx form. So any questions on setting up entities? Okay. All right. So then that's all of that, right? Ricardo, is there nothing else here?
That's everything. Now we can jump to organization settings. This is the screen where we're gonna set it up, but it's good to explain.
Yeah. So this is the settings screen for your company to give us access to mygroundbiz account. Okay, so this is where you're going to choose the name, and we recommend that you provide an email address for your organization. So for instance, info@oscarmikeinc.com. The reason for that is, or in this case, info@tesco.com. And the reason for that is this particular email address will then get copied on any email the system ever sends. So rather than filling up your inbox or one of your admin's inbox or whatever with all the emails that will get sent from the system, you can have them go to this email address, and that way you'll have a permanent record of any email sent from the system. The system does not retain emails. The system just sends emails. But if you have your own email address there, then you will get copied on all the emails. The next segment here in this screen is where you click to put in your FedEx Ground information with respect to your myground biz account password.
Music in the background. It's like cold music. Anybody else hearing it?
I'm hearing it, but it's not for me. So here's where you put in your myground biz account password. Now, remember, the only reason you need to put your password in here is so you want us to automatically use our robotic algorithms to every week on Tuesday evenings log into your myground biz account, download your settlements for that week, upload them into mygroundforce, and start the data processing on it. That way, when you wake up on Wednesday morning and open up mygroundforce, all the work is done. Your payroll will be done, line haul settlements, all your dashboards will be updated, your fuel surcharge report will be updated. All that information will be updated while you're sleeping. In order for us to be able to do that, you have to give us your FedEx ID and your password. Now, some people are a little bit skittish about that, but the thing to remember is the only profile that can see this screen is the owner profile. If you look on the left, you see users. So if you click on users, I'm sorry, click on settings. I apologize. That would list the users, but if you click on settings and go to profile, then you can see the profiles that are available. And only the owner profile has access to the organization screen. So then no one else in the company except you would be able to update your password, or whomever you designate to be to have a profile of owner. Okay, so if we go back then to the settings screen, there's really no risk to you for inputting your FedEx ID and password, because only you can access this screen anyway, or whomever you give owner access to this screen. The other thing we recommend is that you allow us to update your password, and we've had it happen several times during the beta process. People's password expire. You know, the FedEx process of expiring passwords, it's a real pain in the neck to do that. You have to log into myground biz account and go through that whole process. Or if it expires before you did that, then you got to call them and go through that automated phone process. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. You can just click on this box and you can give us your initial password and then how often you want us to update it. Whoa, nobody can hear me? I'm not hearing any music.
I can hear you, Tim.
Yeah, you're fine.
Amari just said he can't hear me, that he's hearing music.
No, I can hear just you.
All right.
Can anybody else hear music?
Nope.
Amari's having problems hearing. He just sent a message on the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
I'll
I don't
figure it
hear
out.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just keep rolling here. So what we recommend is that if you see a sample initial password here, test company 01 and special character, you can make it whatever you want, but what we recommend is that you have a 2-digit number or 3-digit number at the end. And then what we will do is every 30 days or whatever you set for the update, 60, 90 days, whatever you choose, we will go into the FedEx system and update your password for you. The robot will log into your myground biz account. It will go down to change password. It will go into that screen and it will change your password to test company 02 special character. The next time it would be test company 03. We will increment that number by 1 digit each time and then notify you that your password has been updated, and it will be present here on this screen. So you never have to deal with FedEx on that in that regard anymore. The biggest thing it does for you with respect to mygroundforce is you never have a password issue prevent us from going and downloading your settlements and putting you behind the power curve on Wednesday morning to try to get payroll done or something like that. Because if that happens, it's very likely that you would not be able to use the mygroundforce payroll that week, because the process for us to go to mygroundbiz account, download your settlement, get it in your system, in your database, get it processed and get the information available to you would probably not be completed by the time you needed payroll. So you should either keep your password updated, and then you'd always need to update this screen in the center there, or you should let us manage your password for you, and then you never have to worry about it. Okay, let's go to employee registry. Let's see if Amari can hear. All right. Okay, so we're going to do this work for you, as I said. So I just want to show you what this is and the kind of information that we're going to ask you to send. Remember, you're an existing company, so you already have created this information and you're organizing it probably in spreadsheets, etc. But then somebody is constantly tasked with updating that, and anytime there's any changes or whatever, you're trying to remember who had the last version of the spreadsheet, where are you storing it? Is it on my computer? Is it in the cloud? Do I have 2 cloud locations? We make that go away. We will store all this information for you in mygroundforce. And remember that we use the Microsoft Azure cloud, and it's exceptionally well protected. It's as good a cybersecurity as you can ever have. You never have to worry about your data getting ransomed once you're on mygroundforce, because we'll have all your data protected, and no matter what happens on any of your devices or anything, then your data will always be protected. The other thing about mygroundforce is it's 100% accessible via your computer, your desktop, your laptop, your tablet, or your phone. And the screens are designed to be mobile friendly, so they will automatically adjust if you access the system via a mobile device. So now you have all your company's information with you all the time. If you have an iPhone or whatever, you are taking all your company's information with you everywhere you go. And so now you're 100% portable with one login. You don't have to remember what spreadsheet it was in or what cloud I stored it in or all those kinds of things. Okay, so here's a list. One of the things we also have is the ability to print this out. So I think this is this in reports? Oh no, it's here. Okay, so down at the bottom, one of the things that my people like to do is they like to print out the list of everybody's name and FedEx ID and phone number and keep it on the wall in the shop. I'm sure Charles saw that when he was there. He visited my folks in Birmingham recently. And so we created the ability to just print that out. And then you can print it and put it on the wall if you want to use it. And it doesn't print any restricted information. It just prints the basic contact information. And so if you click on add here, then we're going to show you all the information that we have created data fields to collect. Every time you in mygroundforce, when you see a red asterisk, that is a required data field that is crucial to us being able to run the automation that exists in the system. And as you know, we've automated over 15 workflows. So we need the data that's red asterisks to make those workflows work. We think that pretty much all the data fields in the system are important, and we encourage you to complete them all. But in order for us to make the system work, we need the ones with red asterisks. And so then you see all this data here. We'll be asking you for that during the onboarding process. This is all on the employee itself. Now notice a couple things. We have domicile and we have location. Okay, so domicile is where you onboarded that driver. So whenever you go in First Advantage and you bring a driver on, you have to identify what domicile that driver is going to be at. And then going forward, any information related to that driver has to be communicated to that domicile. However, that driver might be in a place where there's more than one FedEx location, and he might be working out of a different location. And in this case, we'll give you the ability to track where he's located, but also never forget where is he domiciled. Okay, so then the other thing that we do is we collect emergency contacts. We have made this information no longer mandatory, though we strongly encourage that you collect emergency contact information for your drivers, especially given the kind of job that they do. And so we provide that, we provide the ability for you to collect that information here. The next thing we do is we collect compliance information. So obviously this is FedEx ID, CDL date, CDL number, and expiration date along with state, and then the same for med card. Okay, so where it says DOT state and DOT expiration date, that's talking about your med card. We probably want to do another update on the terminology here and put DOT medical state and province and date. Okay, Letitia?
DOT medical, you say?
Yeah, that way,
Okay.
that way people, I understand what this is, but it might not be completely obvious. The other thing we
Okay.
allow you to do is to designate this person as someone who receives the daily plan. We will show you that later. So if you click on that, then this particular employee would get the daily plan. And then you have payroll settings on an employee basis. So you can now set up how you want to pay this particular employee. We have a team driver category, but the selection button, but all it does is divide the per mile rate in half. So we have an active project to redesign the team payroll. Man, there's 100 different ways people are doing that. So we're trying to get our head around what would be the most effective. We have helped folks figure out a way to do it in the existing system, but to do it automated, we're going to have to make some changes. Remember that the payroll that we do is 100% settlement based. So we take and we use a set of rules to process the settlement. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take your settlement, we're going to sort it by driver ID, and then we're going to analyze the data for each driver FedEx ID and compute payroll based on the rules that you set up in the system for this driver. So if you pay that driver a per mile rate, then we would calculate it based on what you put in here, or percentage, or flat rate. Same thing for shuttles, same thing for spots. Now I will tell you what TIM does. This doesn't work for teams. But what I do is I calculate what I would pay per mile for every run, and then I create a flat rate table. And so that makes it extremely easy for the system to operate. And then I can change how drivers get paid simply by changing what I pay them in the flat rate table. So I can change the payroll for every driver just by changing one number in the flat rate table if I wanted to do that. Now you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying that's how I do it. But this system is working extremely well using rules based on a rules-based approach to payroll, and then looking at what's in the settlement. Now sometimes you have settlement exceptions. We're going to talk about those. We're going to tell you how we pay those. And then once we get to the payroll report, which we'll go there shortly, then we will give you more information on how to manage certain payroll activities that you might have. The other thing I wanted to show you here is timesheet. So if we click on timesheet, then this is for employees who are non-drivers. And so we can create the payroll report and include your non-driver employees. You would just come in here and track their time. So you have the ability to pick the timesheet period. Are they clocked hours? Do you want to repeat that for future payroll? Say you have somebody that gets paid 40 hours every week. You wouldn't have to come back in here every week and do anything about it. The system would do it automatically. If you want to pay that employee overtime this week, then you can just come in here and say, I'm going to pay him some overtime hours. And then on that particular employee, you would set the overtime rate. So if you want to click on that, I think it's in if you put some hours in there. Okay, so
Tim, this employee has not set up a overtime rate. So for our non-driver employees, if you pay the employee overtime hours and you have that overtime rate, you have to put that on the employee registry. Since
Right,
this
you have to-
employee is a non-driver, so that's why if you put in here, the
that's
system is
fine.
gonna
So-
say that
So
change.
we have to go in the employee registry and click on that, and then click on, go ahead. And then find Abe Trent and click on edit, and then go to payroll, and then click overtime percentage. And so one of the things I failed to point out, if you go back to employee registry, if you scroll back up and go on employee registry, then one of the key things here is employee category. So we have some standard categories here that are already set up, and office support and administrative officer and things like that. They do not require compliance information, right? If you pick driver, then we're going to collect compliance information. So it's all set up for you already. And if you wanted to add a category, then if you look out to the left, it says employees category, employee categories, and you can click on that and you can add categories. So we have a number of categories that are pre-configured for you, and you can click on any one of those and you can see, if you click on whichever, it doesn't matter, then you can see how we have that set up. And so administrative officer is a non-driver. If it's a FedEx driver, then it would say he's a FedEx driver and he's DOT compliant. And it would be automatically selected like that. And now, why does it say FedEx ground line haul driver? Well, if you're like me and you have a mechanic, but he doesn't, who has a CDL, but he doesn't drive for FedEx, he doesn't do any line haul runs. Then if you were to select maintenance with CDL as a category name, then you would see that we're going to track his DOT compliance in the system for you, but he's not going to be added to anything that's required for FedEx ground line haul driver. Hang on just a second. Okay. Any questions on employees, categories, all that information, payroll, etc.? Let's on getting it set up. Let's run down now to settings. I'm sorry. Payroll is on the reports tab. I want the extra payments. Okay, so if we click on payroll report. Okay, so in this case, you notice you have drivers, non-drivers, and pending payroll. So we're going to select a contract. We're going to select a payroll ID. I mean, a payroll date. Notice all the payroll dates are based on settlement week. Okay, so we do payroll by settlement week, and we do the standard settlement week. And if you're like me and you don't pay by standard settlement week, you need to migrate to a standard settlement week. And I'm in the process of doing that in my own company. I can tell you why I do what I do. When I started this, we didn't run on weekends. And when we started running occasional runs on weekends, then I decided that if you ran on a weekend for me, I would pay you in the same week that you ran. And of course, I was fronting the money because I haven't been paid yet by FedEx, right? But I'm too big to do that anymore. And it's very confusing because now we're running 7 days a week. And so every run is 7 days a week. And so I have to now adapt my payroll week to match the settlement week. And then once that's done, 100% of my payroll will be fully automated. Okay, so what you see here is what the payroll report would look like. And the concept behind mygroundforce is we will calculate payroll for you. We will present you this report. And then once you approve it, you can send this report to your accounting person who's going to process payroll. At this point in mygroundforce, we don't have an accounting functionality. What we have is the ability to automatically create for you the payroll report that you send to your payroll service, whoever that is. we will ultimately have that ingrained into mygroundforce and integrated, and it will be as much as all you have to do is approve payroll and hit a button, and then all the direct deposits will go out. But that's not something that we're doing in the short term. Now, what does that mean? That means that your payroll service may have to revise the data fields that they have in their system, that payroll work properly, because they've already set up some data fields, I'm sure. So that would be a change that you would have to make with your payroll service to be able to send them this report, have them upload it, and then run payroll. That's not a hard thing for them to do, but it is one step that you'll have to do on your own. We can't help with that. So what do you see on the payroll report? You see here, Angel Montano, it's got his FedEx ID, his name, how many miles he ran last week, what is his line haul pay, what is his shuttle pay, what is his spot pay. We have then manual data fields for PTO, for extra payment that you can enter here, or you can program an extra payment. We'll talk about that. And then you have an other category. Now, this other category allows you to manually put in or subtract anything in payroll. You can make any kind of corrections you want using the other data field. You just, when he clicked on David Howard. So you see it pre-populates the driver's FedEx ID and name. And in this case, if we're going to subtract money, we put it on discount. And then you put in why you're doing that. You overpaid. And then you put in the amount you're taking out. So sometimes this happens and you need to have the ability to adjust your payroll. This is how you do it. If you wanted to just pay some guy $20 extra or $50 to take his wife to supper, you would just click not extra payment. You would click on other, and then you would just say, you know, whatever you want to call it, recognition, and put the amount in. And whatever you wanted to say. And then as soon as you saved it, then it will show up in the payroll report. And when you send that to your payroll service, then he will get paid that month. Okay, so a couple other things here. If you click on the driver's name, then you will see everything that driver did for the past week, for the past settlement week. And if you scroll down, wait a minute, I have to go back. I was going to email it. So I have to go back to payroll report. And I have to click on, if you see down in the bottom left-hand corner where it says send email, you saw that Ricardo checked the box for David Howard. We're going to email the selected driver his payroll report. And when you click yes, then bam, David Howard got his payroll report. So there are contractors, we made this change because there are contractors that get their drivers involved in the QA process for payroll on Wednesday mornings. And so what we have created is for your ability to go in, and if you wanted to do that, you would be able to just click the main box at the top of this of the payroll report, and then click send email, and it would send it to all the drivers in your company. They would get their own individual payroll report. Okay, so that's one of the functions that you have the ability to do.
Tim, can I just add something here? When you mention the individual report, it's very important to say that if, for example, you pay a special run, a certain fee that differs from the payroll settings that you did for this driver or for the whole organization, you can use this edit button when you click on the driver, and then you can change this. So it will change this specific run for this specific driver at this specific date. And then once you save it, it's going to reflect on his payroll report. So yeah, this is how some beta testers are doing when the rules that we have for payroll settings do not accommodate the way that they're paying drivers for certain runs.
Yeah, so you can edit the payroll on a per run basis in the system. That allows you to customize it if you want to do that. So let's talk about PTO here. If you just click on PTO. So you had a driver that was off a day or 2 days, and you're going to pay him PTO, and you want that to show up on his pay stub. Then you would put it in his PTO, and then you just put in the manual amount, whatever you're paying him to be off that day. Because every driver probably gets paid a little bit differently when they're off. So this allows you to customize it in the screen. The other thing we have available here is extra payment. So in extra payment, you can either add this extra payment here, and then you can just put in how much it was and what it was for. So maybe you're paying him, maybe he spent $100 and bought headlight bulbs or something, and you need to reimburse him. You can put that in here. I will show you how you can set up an automated, I'll show you how you can set up an automated extra payment in a couple minutes. Okay, so once payroll is approved, you would click the box up by status. If you click the box up by status, that would approve them all. If you want to approve it on one driver at a time, then you can do it the way it's currently done. And once it's approved, they will turn green. Okay. So that's your driver payroll report. Then you have a non-driver payroll report.
This one, Tim, it's not showing because of the settlement week that since we're running the past, when we set up the timesheets and then we hit rerun payroll, it only runs the certain the current payroll week. So when we prepared for this presentation, it didn't run, but for future ones, we will have this data populated.
Yeah, so if you have non-drivers in your system, their payroll would show up here and you could edit it the same way. And then you see a tab that says pending payroll. What this means is that when we ran payroll, when the system ran payroll, we found some errors. And we're reporting to you the errors that we found. So then you notice that, for instance, for the Angel Montano, there was no 381 or 7399 where we say we paying him by flat rate table, but there was nothing in the flat rate table for that run. And in the case of John Smith, he's an administrative employee and there's no timesheet set up for him. And so what this does is it tells you the things that you need to go fix. And it tells you exactly where to go look. And then if you go back to the payroll report, once you have all these, once you go fix all these, then you, where's that rerun payroll button? Oh, it's
in the
down.
payroll, is in the pending payroll, yes.
There's the payroll rerun button right there. So once you've corrected all these, then you can click rerun payroll. Now, the system will rerun payroll right then. That will tell the robot to get busy and do some work. Where that doesn't work is if you haven't yet, if your password was expired and we have not yet uploaded your settlement, that it will take some hours for the robots to be able to go get your settlement, put it in the database, process it, and create payroll. And that would only occur if you don't give us your password. So I know I've already explained that, but I just wanted to remind, just because you hit payroll rerun will not create payroll if we haven't yet received the data or if the data is still being processed. Okay, so that's how payroll works. There's a couple other things related to payroll we want to talk about. So let's go to settings. And you see that we have extra payment. Now here for an extra payment, let's say you want to set up a monthly safety bonus for all your drivers. Okay, well, you can come in here, you can click, and we're going to edit it here. So we're going to click on edit, and we're going to show you what we did. So we created a bonus name called monthly safety bonus. You got the employees that are in the employee category driver are getting are the ones that are going to get this bonus. And how often are they going to get it? They're going to get it every month on the 27th. Now you can set that up weekly, quarterly, yearly, however you want to do it. And then you put in how much you're paying for the monthly safety bonus under value. And then under status, it's either active or inactive. So if you have a extra payment and you don't want to pay that anymore, but you might want it in the future, then you could just make it inactive. And so if you go back to the extra payment screen, you can see add. So if you click on add, then you can create your own extra payment. There is a contractor that pays their employees $22 a month for using their own personal cell phone. So this is set up so that they can do that in the system. Most contractors pay a monthly safety bonus. You can do that here. If you pay your drivers per diem, you can set that up here. You know, and just call it per diem. So, you know, if it's the same amount of per diem every week, because this is going to be scheduled. The other way that you could pay per diem is on the weekly payroll report. You could click in the extra payment column for that driver and add per diem for that driver, put it in as per diem, and then your payroll service will know to not charge tax on that. So that's the real reason that we want to give you the ability to segregate per diem. And in a future release, we'll make that as a column on the payroll report. Okay, so if we go back to settings, here are some things that you can set up related to payroll. So if you want to use flat rates, and I use flat rates for everything. If you want to use flat rates, this is how you set it up. So just pick line haul flat rate. And you will see here is a line haul flat rate table that's already been configured for the test code. And if you click on add, to add a flat rate, then you would say, well, where does that start? Where's my origin station? Now, these are stations that you will be able to select. You have to put those in the system. I'll show you how to do that. And then you can choose them from the drop down. And then you go, where's it going? And then what are you going to pay? And then is it active? Okay, and then as soon as you do that, then it's been added to the flat rate table. And then it's going to take you back out to the flat rate table. And now you see all this. So if you're going to go, let's say we're going to go from Birmingham to Nashville back to Birmingham. Well, you have to configure two things in your flat rate table. You have to configure 352 to 371, and you have to configure 371 to 352. And the reason for that is that's how it's done on the settlement. And so this is the most accurate way for us to do payroll, is to calculate payroll exactly the way it would show up on the settlement for that particular driver. Okay, so that's how we do it. We have this set up for all line haul runs, all shuttles, and all spots. So if we go to, for instance, the spot flat rate table, and you click on that, then you're going to see all the spots.
We don't have spots registered for this organization. That's fine.
I guess Tesco doesn't run spots.
Yeah.
Now, how does Tim pay spots? I did a lot of pay benchmarking on how people paid spots, and kind of the going rate on paying spots is 30 to 31% of gross without fuel. And so what I do is that whenever I get a spot, I do that calculation. I determine maybe it's $32 and I want to pay $30, or I want to pay $35, whatever it is. Now I'll just then go in the system, enter that spot, put the amount in it, say I'm going to pay, it came out to $33.27. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm just going to pay that at $35. Then I would enter it in here at $35. And then you're working with round numbers. The reason I like to do that is because I don't have to tell drivers, oh, well, you know, I'm paying 49.5 cents a mile going to Nashville. I don't tell them that. I'm like, hey, if you do round trip from Birmingham on the Nashville lane, you make $200. So I can talk in numbers. I can talk in dollars to drivers. So I don't ever talk to drivers that work for me in terms of what I pay per mile. I'll put them on a run and tell them exactly what that pays. And then they say, well, what does it pay to go here? What does it pay to go there? I don't make them have to know the paid miles, right? They're going to look up, well, it's 293 miles to Nashville. Well, the settlement miles is less than that, and I pay settlement miles because that's how they pay me, right? So I get away from those conversations. in my business. Now, remember, I'm all solo and spot. I don't do any teams. That's way harder to do in teams. So I'm not suggesting that. But I do recommend that you consider it when you're talking about dealing with folks that are in the solo business or in the spot business. Makes the conversations way easier. That's not a mygroundforce thing. That's a Tim thing. mygroundforce will pay them however you set it up. Okay, so let's go back to settings and let's see.
Tim, Charlie had a question.
Okay.
Well, I think you kind of answered it. So you're not on those runs paying per mile, you're paying for that run. So if a guy makes a different mileage rate, it doesn't matter. That run, he's making that amount of money. Is that correct?
That's how I do it. So in other words, all my drivers make the same for all their runs. And then what I do is every year I give drivers a pay raise on January the 1st. And I typically make that pay raise equal to whatever FedEx gave me. And it says it right in the employee handbook. Well, this year, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, Charlie. I'm still trying to figure that out because we don't have, so I don't have a good answer for you on that one. But it has worked in previous years all the way up to this year. So that way that the drivers who make more in the Nashville lane are drivers who have been with me the longest. So all drivers start at the same rate and you all get paid exactly the same thing for the same work. And then you essentially, the longer you work for me, the more money you make in that lane. That's how I choose to pay. And it seems to work for drivers. But because
makes sense.
The reason what I don't want to do is say, oh, well, you know, driver number 1 goes to Nashville and he makes 200 and driver number 2 goes to Nashville and he makes 205 and driver number 3 makes 195. I can't keep track of all that in my head, right? And it makes it very difficult in recruiting to be able to tell people exactly what they make. So I tried to simplify it for my people in the payroll world and for my conversations with drivers and with recruits to simplify it. So it's very easy for me to say what things pay and we pay it. And I never vary from it. If a driver says, well, I need more money, I'm like, you need to work somewhere else. Because I can't have a guy on the same lane as one of my experienced drivers and he's making $25 more in that lane than another because I did what I had to do to get a driver in. What I have done is I have raised the pay for all drivers in a lane. I did this earlier in the year. I raised the pay for every driver in the Nashville lane, and then the ones who are long-term employees with me, they're making more in that lane, but for the work itself, everybody made the same. So that's how I do payroll. It doesn't mean you have to do it that way. As I said, mygroundforce will do it any way you want to, but those are the reasons I pay the way I pay.
Got it. So you're paying a guy, whether he has 1 year experience, 6 months experience, 5 years experience, and that lane, the same thing.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. And you get no pushback from your seasoned drivers about that. You're nothing at all. You're good with that. Because one of my challenges sometimes when new guys coming in, I do pay them less than my drivers that have been with me longer. And that seems to.
I do. Pays. So let's say,
okay, got it. Okay.
Say that you have a driver that's been here 3 years and a driver that's brand new. So the way I do it is when you go to Nashville, you both get paid $200. But this driver has 3 years worth of January the 1st raises, and this other driver just started. So he's probably making 8% more.
Got it.
On that lane, but the lane itself pays what it pays. And then guys who are experienced in the company that have been here longer make more money in the same lane.
Got
and
it. Okay.
that raise carries over whatever lane I put them on. You know, if I change their lane from Nashville to Memphis, they still get their pay raise on whatever Memphis pays. That's how I do it. Now, we're still working on the pay raise functionality in the system. We have it, but we have some work to do on that. So anyway, again, I'm just giving you how I do it because I know we all like to talk to other contractors and see how they do it. What I have tried to do is forecast the kind of conversations I have with drivers and how can I answer the same driver the same way every time. So when you have as many drivers as I have, they all ask the question and there's not ever been a problem. Everybody knows what you make on going to Nashville. There's no secrets. And then they know what their pay raise is and they get paid more in that lane. So they feel valued. They've been here longer, they get paid more. And it seems to work. So that's how we do pay.
Thanks, Tim. Great
Sure.
answer.
I think
Thank
that's it for settings. Okay, so we're an hour in. Does anybody need to take a break? You want me to keep rolling?
Keep going to my end.
Ron, Charlie, Amari, Vince?
I'm good.
We're good.
Alrighty.
Yep, keep going.
We'll keep it going then. All right, so let's go ahead and go to vehicles. Okay, so let's go to vehicle categories. There should only be a couple in here. Well, this is in Tesco, but we're making a change. You're only going to have service vehicle and tractor because line haul contractors never have straight trucks and they never have vans because that's going to show up on a P&D contract. And we're not set up in the mygroundforce to manage P&D contract. So, but you have service vehicle and tractors as your category names for vehicles. Then if you go to vehicle registry, you will see that this is all the tractors that are in this system. Okay, so this particular test company has all these tractors. So if you click on, let's click on a tractor, not on a straight truck. Click there. Okay, so here's all the information we collect on your tractor. Again, notice the red asterisk. So we will be asking you for this information. And then there's some data fields here that we recommend that you also provide to us. Again, what we're trying to do is collect all your critical company information and store it in mygroundforce, whether or not we require it for automation. We're trying to collect all your critical information and store it in mygroundforce. So you never need another spreadsheet. You never need another Word doc that has information on it. You don't need that anymore. You put all the data here. And if you have data that you collect that we don't have a data field for, if you will tell us, we'll create a data field. And
Tim, I don't see the screen share. Are you scared? I just see your face. I don't see a screen share.
oh,
Are you guys, I'm sharing the screen?
I can see the
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah. I think that's a setting on your side, Charlie. Maybe you have to click on the maybe you have pinned Teams video. Hold on. So if you see Teams face and you go with the mouse and see the three dots right next to mute, click on there and
Yep.
see if you can unpin it.
The three dots. Okay. Next to mute. Got it. Three dots. You said there's a three dots?
Yeah. Left click on the three dots there and see if you have an option that says unpin video.
I do not see that anywhere. Audio settings, should be video or audio. Nope, I don't. Let's see. Okay, I'm back. I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
All right, sweet. So if you identify data fields that we don't have, if you'll tell us what it is and where you think it should go, we will find a way to get it added. Notice that I just added a data field myself. In the bottom right-hand corner, you see EFS/Truck Spy fuel card number, because I am beta trialing the Truck Spy fuel card for lanes in which I don't go to a fuel island at FedEx. So then I have a discount card that I put there. And I'm sure there'll be other discount cards that pop up that you want to keep track of the fuel card number. And you need this information for T-Check, because as soon as you have a problem with T-Check, you got to give them the fuel card number and the tractor number, right? Well, if you're out and about you're having dinner with your wife and this hits all of a sudden you got a problem and the driver calls you about it, well, you can pull out your handy dandy phone, go into mygroundforce, pull up that truck, pull up the fuel card number, and give them the fuel card number and fix it, if that's what would need to be done. The other thing that we have, and everybody has this problem, is the temporary fuel card number. Okay, so if you have a temporary fuel card for this tractor, you put the fuel card number in there, and then you click on number frequency. And is it permanent or temporary? So in this case, we would say temporary. If you have a permanent card, then you would say it's permanent, because you guys know the problems we have with temporary fuel card numbers, right? So you have the ability to track all of that in the system. Here's some other things that we recommend that you track. How many axles does your tractor have? If you have tractors that are, some are single axle, some are dual axle, day cabs. How many seats do you have? Otherwise, you might schedule a truck for training that only has one seat. I have that problem sometimes. You can track your ELD serial number and model. You can track your VETR serial number and model. Is it an automatic? Is it a manual? And then here's a couple really key things that we all get into. If you have tractors in more than one location, you need this. Where's that tractor domicile? Because all the paperwork associated with that tractor goes to that domicile. But you might have that tractor in another location, and you want to know where that tractor is. So then you can put that in there as well. And then when does the vehicle expiration, inspection and expiration occur? That's very important, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. Then if you scroll down, I think we can print this report. If we go to vehicle registry, you see, if you scroll down, you can print in Excel PDF, however you want to do it, your entire list of tractors. Now, why is this important? One of the things I didn't point out, but it's pretty obvious in there. Well, let's go back to edit on a tractor. I'm sorry, I forgot to point this out. So you notice that in the upper right-hand corner, there's status. And is that truck up or down? This is not in between. A truck is either ready for you to run that day or it's not. And so then you status the tractor accordingly. So my maintenance officer comes in every morning. He looks at the trip reports that we get from drivers, and he updates the system. He goes through every tractor. If we go back to vehicle registry, the main report, he goes, if you'll notice here, he statuses every tractor. This is what it would look like. This is a test code, but this is what it would look like. And the tractor is either up or down. And then what that means is now the system, mygroundforce, the system is considering that tractor up or down based on what's in this view right here. So when you go to write your schedule, if you select 159729, which is showing as down, you won't be able to schedule that tractor. The system won't let you schedule a down tractor. You'll either have to update that and make it up, or you won't be able to run you won't be able to schedule 729. So there's a lot of fail safes in the system to keep you from making mistakes, and this is one of them. But if you wanted to then, once you have it updated, if you want to send out that report, if you scroll down, this is where you can print it and send it to everybody in the company if you want to, or they should all have a login to mygroundforce and they could see it. But sometimes people want to print it out and put it on the wall to know which trucks are available or whatever. So anyway, you had the ability to print that report. Okay, so that's the way we collect tractor information. Now, future feature, if we click on edit for a tractor. In the future, there's going to be, next to vehicles registry, there's going to be a maintenance tab. And in that maintenance tab, we're going to track all the maintenance on your tractor, all the scheduled maintenance on your tractor, not the break fix, but the scheduled maintenance. So your SMII for each tractor requires that you maintain several systems according to the manufacturer's recommendation. And so you put that on your SMMI form and you turn that in. And then you're supposed to do that service within the allotted time frame given. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you the ability to track that in mygroundforce. So if you are a current TruckSpot customer, we will import your mileage data every day from TruckSpot. We're partners with TruckSpot, and you're going to be able to go between TruckSpot and mygroundforce without leaving the browser. You're just going to be able to go back and forth between the two, and we will import mileage every day. We'll update your maintenance based on what you put here. And then the other thing that we're going to do that TruckSpot doesn't do is we're going to take that data and we're going to turn it into a calendar. So when you log in here, you will have a maintenance tab that you'll have all that information on what mileage is. And then below that, you're going to have a calendar, and it's going to say, okay, well, in November, tractor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on November the 7th is going to be due an oil change, or it's going to be due a brake system service. And you'll be able to see the whole month, and you'll be able to either look at it on a week or a daily basis. But essentially, we will do maintenance planning for you down to the day that that service needs to be due. And now, obviously, you'd want to do it before that date, but we're going to take the miles remaining on services and turn it into a date certain, put it on a calendar and show it to you so that you can have a maintenance plan for your company all the time. So that's coming. We'll have that done within the next few weeks. That's in progress already. Now, I saw a question from Vince on leased tractors. So Vince, again, it just depends on, I assume that whenever you put, I haven't leased a tractor for long term. So I assume that whenever you lease a tractor, that you have to fill out an SMI form and put that in. And then you're going to have to put that same information in there because you might have that tractor for 3 or 4 years. You're going to cross those service thresholds and you're going to need to track those. So it will put the same thing in, right? And so we'll be tracking mileage for you and telling you when those services are due. If your full-term lease includes maintenance, then they would provide that service, but you would have a schedule by which it needs to be done. So we'll do the maintenance planning for you. Now that is scheduled maintenance, right? There's unscheduled maintenance that's a function of what might break. And you might want to add some other things, right? You're going to have the ability, for instance, maybe you have an older model Volvo, like I have a bunch of them, and you have a DEF filter and not you don't use DEF, you use a particulate DPF filter. And that filter needs to be checked on occasion. You might want to add that in as something that you want to check, and then we can track that for you. Now, if you're not a Truck Spy customer, then we will do all this work for you also. It's just going to be harder to get it set up. We'll help you with that. And then you will have to manually enter the miles for each tractor on call it a weekly basis. So you would have to have somebody get the mileage off all your tractors, and then you come in here in the system, and under the mileage section, you would update the mileage on each tractor, and then that would run the maintenance planning function. So you will be able to do it manually if you're not a Truck Spy customer. If you are a Truck Spy customer, it will be fully automated. So I think that's a big enhancement. I can't wait to have it. My folks are chomping at the bit. And Charlie knows we're pretty good at tracking maintenance, but it's going to get a hell of a lot easier when we have this.
Yes, it will.
Okay, so if we then go into MMRs, the #1 biggest pain in the ass to be a FedEx contractor in terms of documentation is the monthly maintenance report. And we have automated this. So if we give you the option on monthly maintenance report, do you want to create one at a time? So if you say you click on create one at a time, then you're going to go in and fill out this form. This form is identical to the FedEx form. When you print it out, it will look identical to the FedEx form. And so then you would just go in and you can select your vehicles. We provide you a drop down. So they're all there. Anything that's in the system, you'll be able to drop it down. We will auto-populate the domicile. You would pick the month and the year, but all this other stuff you're going to have to put it in, okay? And it would be just like you're doing it now. The difference is that when you save this, you're going to be able, it's going to put it in a queue, and then you're going to end up being able to send them out to the domiciles. Okay, so if you scroll down, then you see the save button. And when you save it, it will go into the MMR queue. Okay, and here it would be. So what you can then do is select all the ones going to burn and email them to burn, right? In this particular case. But nobody wants to do these damn things manually, right? So then if you click on create and you click on import multiple tractors, you're going to get the chance to download the template. So in this case, if you go ahead and click on download the template, then we're going to show you what this looks like. Have to get Ricardo a new computer. There we go. All right. So here is the template, and it's got some instructions here, and you want to make sure that you review those instructions. But essentially, you as the month goes along, you have this, and after you fill it in the first time, right, you'll have all this tractor information, all this other stuff. You could save it like that, and then just open up last month's and delete what's not useful or not current, and then put new information in. But essentially, you put all your information in. If you have more than one maintenance activity, Letitia, can you explain how we do that?
Sorry, Tim. Can
So
you repeat, please?
On the monthly maintenance report template, if I performed 2 maintenance activities that month, how do we put that in the system on the template? Do we put it all in the same block, or do we add a separate line?
Yeah, you can put all in the same spreadsheet.
Why not?
And you change the month and year, right?
But is it all in the same cell, or do I have to add another line for a second maintenance event?
It's one
you
for each
can-
line. Just
one
make
for
sure
each
that
line,
you keep the
yes.
same month so that you will go on the same
Have to
form.
create another line.
That's what I thought. So you would just, if you perform 3 services on tractor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then tractor number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would have 3 services on it. But when we create the monthly maintenance report for you, we'll put them all on one report. Okay, and so then once you have that template, I have my maintenance folks keep that open during the month. And then when it's time to upload the monthly maintenance report, you just come back in here and you click on import. And when you click on import, it's going to give you the option to choose the file. And so then you would choose the file name that you just worked on. And whenever you do that, the system will auto generate all your monthly maintenance reports. ALL, all of them. Well, it would only generate those that you gave us information for, or if you gave us a template, if you fill out the template with no errors. So when you have a lot of tractors, sometimes you miss something, and what we have is an exceptions tab. So if you go to the exceptions tab, this will tell you which monthly maintenance reports we did not complete. And then you would need to look at that individual report and see what the issue was. Did you not give us the information? And in that case, you can re-import it. Or did you give us the information, but there was some error in a particular cell? You used something, you didn't follow the rules or whatever. Then we're going to tell you these did not create. That way you will never assume that you created a bunch that you did not. So this is where you would find the exception. So this is kind of the errors tab. But if you go back to monthly maintenance records.
Tim, Charlie raised his hand. I think he has a question.
I have
Quick
my
question.
so I can see the
Quick
whole.
question.
Yeah.
Can you change the report once it's pending or no?
Yes. You just click on,
You can.
you just click on edit.
Got it. Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so if we go back to review all, then when it's time to send, and if you want to send them to Berm, click, 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 send email. And you're going to select from the list. So what is that list? We're going to show you how to do that here in a second.
Tim, this feature alone is worth the software. I just did
so.
mine. What a pain.
I think,
Although I've actually automated it in Adobe to somewhat, but this is so much better. Thank God.
yeah, I think so. Okay. All right, so that's tractors. I tell you, while we're here, let's go down to settings, and we'll go to Fedex Contacts. So here's where you can enter all your Fedex contacts. Now I realize you have them in your phone, and maybe you don't want to do this, but you need to take the time to put all the information for all the Fedex contacts that you normally deal with and put them in the system, because then you always have them no matter what device you're on. Okay, your phone dies and you have your tablet, you can pull it up. But the other thing it does, it enables the system, right? Because you're going to have a contact name, and you're going to have an email address, and you're going to have a phone number, and you're going to know what station they're at and what their job title is. And now they are in mygroundforce, and they are subject to get emails right from the system or texts. This system texts also. So you can do all that in here. So if we go back out to settings and you click on email distribution list. Okay, so you can, in this case, we've created the 352 Berm MMR. right? So if you look at, click on edit, then it's gonna, then, you know, in this case, we've just typed information in, but you would select employee category that you want to get this particular distribution list, then user, or maybe it's by user profile, or maybe it's by Fedex contact. And we don't have Fedex contacts loaded for Tesco, but in Birmingham, we could select Brandon Reeves. I'm sure you know him, Charlie. So you could select Brandon Reeves and whomever else, and then the system will send you, that's how you built the distribution list, and the system will send it to them. If you want to add an email address that's not on anybody's list, then you can come to email and type it in if you wanted to do that. Now, remember, we encourage you to create an info@tesco.com type email address on the organization entity screen, because that way, when you send your monthly maintenance reports, you will get copied on what went out. It's like having a sent box, right? It will actually be receiving the emails, and then you can verify that it went out. Because it is not uncommon for FedEx to say, I never got your monthly maintenance reports. And you can go to your info file folder on your Outlook or whatever you're using and say, well, it's right here. Let me forward it back to you, because the system will not screw it up. It will send it out. Yes, sir. You have a question, Charlie? Nope. Can everybody still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think he's on his
Yeah, I'm sorry. There it goes. I'm sorry. I was on mute. Do you have to sign the monthly maintenance report? So does your system have a signature line as well?
Yes, it'll automatically sign Charlie Hardman's name to it. If you go back to the monthly maintenance report form and you click on one, you notice when you select owner signature, whatever you select there, the system will sign that.
I see. Perfect. Thank you.
And it will put the date in as well that that you transmit, that the date that it's signed, it will include that. Nobody's told me FedEx has not taken them yet. I hadn't heard that. So that's good news. Okay, let's go to operations. Oh, you know what? I skipped some stuff. Let's go to reports. I just want to show you guys this. Okay, whenever we do payroll, payroll report's important, but when we do settlement analysis, there are other things that are important. Okay, so if we click on line haul exceptions. So this system will identify all the times that you have dispatch errors for which you did not get paid. So if you went 352 to 371 and there's no 371 back to 352, the system will tell you that. So in this case, you see that there was a 7964 to 389, but there was no 389 back to 381 because the next leg leaves from 381 going to 5379, right? So that means that we're missing a leg from 389 to 381. System finds it. So what you would do then, so it finds them all, right? So then the system will, what you need to do is get your settlements out. Now, you still got to get your settlement out to do line haul exceptions, but what you don't have to do is go through every page looking for them, because we found them. What you have to do is get your settlement, and then you go to tractor number 159727, and you find this, right? And you make sure that it's a legitimate exception, because you know sometimes FedEx will manually do dispatches and they get them out of order. And so you don't want to automatically submit an exception that wasn't legitimate, because then FedEx will accuse you of not having any integrity. Never mind the fact that they didn't pay you for work you did. They don't consider that a lack of integrity, but if you try to submit a line haul exception inappropriately, then you'll have issues. So you want to validate that it's a true line haul exception. And let's assume that you did that. So then we clicked on that. Where did you show them where you clicked? We clicked here on the tractor number. So you click on the tractor number and then it brings this screen up. The screen should look familiar. So you got vehicle number, and then why we got the drop down reason codes here. So if you click on that drop down, you'll see all the reasons why it might not have been paid, right? So in this case, line haul shuttle trip not paid. In our case, it's a shuttle trip because it's real short, right? We know it's only like 18 miles. Okay, so we click on that. And then what date did it happen? So you put those dates in, and then you describe it. And I just usually say trip not paid. Okay, now that's all you need for the line haul exception, but that means that driver did not get paid for those miles either, right? Now, if you're correcting all your line haul exceptions or approving all your line haul exceptions before you do payroll, the system will automatically, whatever you put in here for the payment amount, it will automatically go put that in the payroll report. You don't have to go do it yourself. That could be a lot of work to do on the morning that you're doing payroll. And in that case, you might leave this blank because you updated the payroll report yourself manually to account for what miles he did, if you're tracking those things, right? So it all depends on how you execute payroll and how you account for the fact that things didn't get paid. If you do it like I do, I'm paying a flat rate and I might miss this, right? So my driver got paid, but I'm the one that got screwed over. If you do everything by what's in the settlement, in that case, the driver would get screwed over and you'd want to fix it here before you did the payroll report. Okay, and you can. So if you're going to say it's $500, it's trip not paid, when you hit save, then the system is going to do two things. It's going to approve that exception, and it would have added that amount. In this case, he typed in $500 for that. Whoever driver is on that particular tractor, driver number 8336156 just got $500 added to his line item on payroll, and it shows up in the other block when you look at the columns. So it could be that what you want to do when you process payroll in mygroundforce is when you wake up on Wednesday morning and you log in, you might want to print out your settlement and come to the line haul exceptions tab and then go through line haul exceptions, and you will be updating payroll while you're doing that. Okay. The other thing that happened is now that this one is approved, so let's say that we want to submit this, say all the other ones were not approved, or maybe they all were approved, whatever the case is. Couple things here. It's either approved, you see where it says pending. That means that it's not been approved yet. So he's going to approve it. And that exception is now approved. Maybe the others, you could go through and approve those, or if you say, oh, well, that's not an exception, then you have a trash can here and you can get rid of it. Okay. All right. So let's say now now you want to submit those. Now, you know as well as I do that if you're going to submit those, you got to go to mygroundbiz account. But as a mygroundforce customer, you don't have to do that. You can click on submit to Fedex and you can say, would you like mygroundforce to do that for you? And you would say yes. And as soon as you say yes, the robots are the next time the robots run, it won't be instantaneous, but the robots run multiple times a day. And then they're gonna come into Tesco and they're gonna say, oh, we have exceptions to report to FedEx, and it's gonna go in there and load them in the FedEx system and submit them automatically. Now, you know that the process includes not only you have to put them in mygroundbiz account, but you have to show the pieces of the settlement that indicate that you missed, you didn't get paid for a dispatch, and you have to provide your GPS information. You can close that confirmation. Okay, so what happens if you want to? So let's say that now you want to submit. You've used the robot to submit your exceptions. That's done. So then you click on print up at the top, and it's going to print for you the line haul exceptions report someday. There it comes. So that's what it would look like. You can see Tesco in the upper right-hand corner, settlement week ending. It's contract ID, name of the company, vendor ID, entity ID, and this is the line haul exceptions report. And it shows you the two lines in the settlement for which you did not get paid, right? There's a difference between the destination and the origin for those two lines. And so every exceptions report will have an even number of line items, a number of rows, right? And it shows you all the information from the settlement, all of it. And it puts it down there. I don't know if we really need to put a total amount in there. It probably is not the right, we could probably work on that. Letitia, let's make a note to work on this report because the total doesn't really, that's not really applicable. So we'll work on taking that off. We'll apologize for that. It won't take long to fix that. But essentially now you have the report that you can send to FedEx. So we have fully automated 2/3 of the program. The only other thing you have to do on your own is you have to go into your ELDs, and for that trip, you have to collect the GPS information. But it shouldn't, that's not hard to do in either OmniTrax or in Trimble. That's very easy to do. It will take 1 minute each at the most. You print that out in Excel usually. And so now you can email to the FedEx, you can email this report, and you can, in the same email, you can attach, you could use your own email, you could email this report from the system and then send the GPS information out of your own email or however you want to assemble it. But those two files would need to go to FedEx, and then line haul exceptions are done for the week. So if you're like me and you have, 1,000 dispatches every week, that's a lot of work to go through the settlement to find these things. But now we have almost fully automated it. We looked at even getting the GPS information, but that's way harder than you might think. So we could get it for trucks by customers, but we would still have to parse the GPS information that you get from an ELD provider, and that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. So we haven't done that yet. Anyway, any questions on that? That's that also pay for the software.
I like it.
So let's go back to settings. I should say reports. Now you got the fuel surcharge report. So we click on that. If in particular, if you're using temporary fuel cards, this is going to bite you in the ass. So there's going to be a time when you did not get paid your fuel surcharge. Okay, so right here it is. Here are some examples in Tesco where information was not, where we did not get paid the fuel surcharge. You see it's 0 right there. So what's the process for this? You have to submit this information to FedEx. You have to provide, you have to fill out some form. I don't remember the number of it. And you're going to have to, they obviously know you ran the run and you just didn't get paid your fuel surcharge. And they will pay you at that point. But this is usually, you want to figure out why this happened. And it usually occurs because somebody didn't properly use the fuel card. And it's usually a temporary fuel card where that occurs. Sometimes the system glitches, right? And then that happens. But the biggest risk for not getting paid your fuel surcharge is the temporary fuel card. Because what happens is that your temporary fuel card was assigned to tractor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then your temporary fuel card, then your tractor number changed. Maybe you had that temporary tractor for more than 30 days. And then now you got 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9 is your tractor number. You have to, okay, Ron, you want us to take 5 minutes? Ron needs to take a break. So I'll finish this thought and we'll each take a couple minutes. Yeah, we don't have much time. We don't have but a little bit more to go. This is a big software.
Okay.
There's
Ese está mal.
There's 200 screens in this thing, so it takes a minute to teach you. I'm sorry about that. So let's take a couple minutes. So I'm ready to go when everybody's back.
Ready when you are.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right. Charlie was just informing me that we probably had the best value in line haul softwares. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I've been playing with the other two out there so far. Yours is a league above.
It's good to hear. Again, they're not contractors, right? So I built this thing to run my business. And if it works for mine, it'll work for yours, I believe. All right, so let's go back to settings here. I want to show you something that I need to continue to point out here. So I got to close down the videos here so I can see the whole screen. So if you click in notifications in the upper right-hand corner, so what we've given you the ability to do is text from the system. Okay, and we've set up 3 options here for you to consider. So we recommend at least these 3. These are compliance requirements. So it's the annual inspection on your tractor, it's a Cdl expiration for drivers, it's DOT medical expiration for drivers. So let's click on Cdl expiration. We have this one set up in Tesco. So in Tesco, well, it's not set up. So we're about to set it up. Oh, it's already set up. This is an annual inspection. So notice for annual inspection, we have it set up so that from 90 days to 60 days, we're going to send out a notice every day. And we're going to send that notice by email and text. And we're going to show you how we do that. And then we set it up from 60 to 1 day. It's going to go out every day. Same thing. Now, for instance, let's say that you wanted to set up a Cdl reminder, right? So let's go to Cdl Reminder. We're going to take you through setting this up. Okay, so we're going to add a reminder, and it's Cdl expiration. So days expire 90 to 60. We're going to notice people twice a week. And we're going to do it by SMS to users with the profile driver. And go back, we're going to choose another profile. We're going to choose business contact. So now the business contact knows which drivers, well, every time they get noticed, he gets noticed. And now it's on his radar. He doesn't have to remember anymore. He doesn't have to go find the spreadsheet. He doesn't have to remember did, Lois updated or not. He's getting reminded by the system. And then we're going to email to users with the profile, business contact, and driver. Now, what we know is that people are way more responsive to text than email, but we're just covering our bases, right? Now, if you want to email to a distribution list, you could, but there's not really any need to in this case. Do you want to email to another employee that's not in one of those 2 categories? You can pick him out. Or do you want to send it to an email address that's not in the system anywhere? You can pick that out too, okay? So now you set this notification up. In this case, we're using it strictly by employee category. So you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to worry about which driver is which. You just click save. Every driver is going to get reminded every time the CDL is due 90 days out. And now it's going to take us back. It's going to show us right there. Now we're going to add again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say Cdl expiration from 60 days to 1 day. And we're going to remind them every day. And we're going to do the same thing we did before. SMS to the users with the profile, business contact, and driver. And the same thing with email. So now we're going to harass the hell out of the business contact until he makes that driver get his CDL renewed. So nobody in the company can ever say that they didn't know that a driver's CDL was coming due, or that his DOT medical card was coming due, or that a tractor was due for an annual inspection, because FedEx will not remind you. You will show up to get dispatched and they will say your CDL is expired and you won't be able to run that driver until you can get it done. And these days, it takes a while to get that thing done and then put in the system so that First Advantage can see it, right? So this should be a lifesaver for you. And you set these up when you get the system. We're going to set it up like this for you, and then you can edit it, and then the notifications will be done. Okay, so if you go back to notifications, then you see we have another tab here. It's called Custom. Now you click on Add, and you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Whatever kind of reminder you want to send out, you can send it out. Maybe Joe Smith has a drug test in the morning. You want to say, hey, this is Joe Smith's reminder. And in the message, you say, hey, Joe Smith, please go see John Birch in the morning at 8 o'clock when you get back from your run. You can put that in here. Maybe you want one of your drivers to come see you at a particular time. You can put that in there. Maybe there's some other document you're trying to remind somebody to submit you, or some other notification that you might want to create. This is up to you. This is a texting and email service that's on board the platform for you to do whatever the hell you want to do with it. Doesn't matter. It's just, you can just text or email from the system without having to go look up anybody's phone number or email address or anything, because you already loaded it in. So
Tim, will it turn off automatically once it's done, or do you have to go back and then turn it off?
nope, once it's done, it's done.
So how does the system know it's done?
It all depends on how you set up to remind them, right? You want to remind them, you want to send out this reminder weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, or on a specific date. So if you click
Let's say you're sending it out every day for the 60 days, but on day 30, he gets it done. Does the system now turn off from day 30 down to 1, or do you have to take some action to turn it off?
it will send it out weekly until you turn it off, and you turn the status over here to inactive.
So you have to go back in, okay, and change it. Okay,
But
got
if you want it to happen on a specific date, you can click the specific date and it'll happen once.
Got it.
If you find some other ways that you would like to use this tool, let us know, and we'll make some changes to it. Because this is no use to me in the system, right? I just know that it would be useful to contractors to be able to text right from the system and not have to pull out your phone or send an email right from the system or whatever. And remember, you can send this to anybody. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be in your company even. You can do whatever the hell you want to with this thing. Okay, so the system is here to help you, and the goal of the system, as you guys have heard me say before, my goal is to put hours back in my day using this software, and I think you've seen so far it will absolutely do that. Okay, so then we're going to go do the last thing here. Oh wait, let's go to reports. I want to show you this. This might be really helpful to you. So you have those reminders, but maybe you want to see, well, what does my Cdl expiration look like? Maybe you want to know. You don't have to go look at each individual employee. You can just click on the report. The report tells you how many days to expiration for all your employees. You can do the same thing with DOT medical card or tractors. There's medical card, same thing. You can see days to expiration. It's a countdown clock. Same thing with tractor inspections. These guys are all expired. That ain't a good thing. So anyway, that's what it looks like, right? It'll say expired. Then that tractor is no longer available to run. It's also not available to put in the daily plan, which we're going to talk about next. Okay, so if you look under operations, we have two plans here. Oh, I should point this out. If you determine that you don't want to give us your password and you want to manually upload your settlement every week, we have created the ability to do this in the operations tab. So you click here on manual upload, and then you would go in and upload your settlement. You would import the file, right? In my view, this defeats one of the key advantages of having our software, because we are trying to put time in your day. Now, if your settlement is not available till Tuesday night, if you fall asleep early and you wake up the next morning and you didn't put your settlement in, I know this is the third time I've said it, this is how you would go put it in, but you would not have that data available to you that day to do any work with. It's going to take the robots a while to go get your settlement, get it in the database, and process it. Okay, so there's a lot of work that gets done to update all these dashboards and reporting and all that every week. The computers are running like a bunch of mice, so they need a little time to do that. They're real fast, but they're not instantaneous. Okay, cancel. All right, so we have given you the ability to plan two different ways. You can plan weekly plan, or you can do a daily plan. And for the word plan, use the word schedule. You can do a weekly schedule or a daily schedule, or you can do a weekly schedule and import that schedule into your daily schedule if you want to. So there's three ways you can do scheduling in this system. So in this case, this is the weekly plan, and we're going to click on edit.
Here it warns the user because this has already been imported to the daily plan. So it's warning you, hey, people already seen it. Are you sure you want to make edits to it? So that's just to warn you.
And we're just going to demo this, right? But the point is we practiced, we created the import feature, and in this case, we imported this to the daily plan so that we could show you that error message. There are a ton of not error messages, but there are error messages, but in general, we give you a lot of reminders to make sure that what you're getting ready to do is exactly what you want to do all through the whole system. So if you notice here, what we give you the ability to do is write a weekly schedule. If you look at the bottom, you have a run. That run leaves from 352 going to 370. It departs at this time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you can put all your drivers in there. And wait a minute, what is 9/4? What day of the week is 9/4? Click up here at the 9/4 is a Saturday. So Letitia, this is one of the things that we need to fix. Maybe it's not fixed in Tesco, but it's fixed in the production environment.
Yeah, this is the case that we are talking about using a calendar. Do you remember? So we are.
What I'm saying is that the bottom here, it needs to start with Saturday.
Yes.
Saturday through Monday. So we need to fix that for you fellas, and we're working on that so that your schedule would match the settlement week, because that's kind of going to match payroll, and that might be how you think about it. Okay. So, but at any rate, here you can go in and put in your runs. You put in the date, the day of the week. In this case, we select, what driver you're going to use on what day. What do you want to name that run? I name my run so that I can distinguish them. I mean, I go to Nashville about 15 times a day. So I have to be able to, if you just ask me about my Nashville run, I'm no smarter on what you're looking for. So we name them, right? So you can use your own nomenclature, then you can select origin and destination. Now you need to have put those origin and destinations in the system. So let's go show where to do that. Customer station, okay? So you need to, if you're going to use customer station in the system, and you will, this is going to be one of those things where you have to go in and plug it in. Now, you don't have to type it in manually if you don't want to. We gave you a template. So if you click on template.
And Tim, when we do the onboarding, that's one of the things that I'll be asking them on the email. Just saying.
Yeah, so I just want to show them the template. So this is what the template looks like. All our templates will have instructions at the top on exactly what to do. And you'll see the asterisk fields that you want to put in here. And then, for instance, if this is station ID 352, the station name is Birmingham, FedEx Ground Birmingham. The phone number, that would probably be for dispatch, right? And then if you have an email address, notice you can put another phone in there if you want. I mean, I have about 12 numbers for Olive Branch as an example. So you put that in, okay? And then you can put all your stations in. You may already have this spreadsheet somewhere, but you definitely have this information, right? So then you'd want to put in all your station IDs. What is the station name? What is the phone number? Any other information you have. And then that enables the automation in the system. And then you would just upload that template, and then we would populate the data in the fields. Okay, so if we go back to weekly plan. Okay, so, and click one, that's fine, it doesn't matter. And so then you would see, as you build your weekly plan, then you got 352 to 371, and you have 371 back to 352. So that's a round trip, and you put it in and who's running it on which days. You know, certainly if you have more runs, you're going to see that this thing is going to get long, right? But essentially, this gives you the ability to plan out what, you know, for instance, you got drivers, you can't work them 7 days a week. You're trying to rotate who's going to cover weekends. Maybe you got a driver on vacation. You're trying to plan that out a week in advance or a few weeks in advance. You can use this function to do that. We got a couple things to fix. We got to change this so that it starts the day of the week with whatever you choose as the first day of the week at the top. That's the bug that we're working to fix. And the other thing is we want to quit putting in first names and start putting in last names. So those are two active fixes that we're working on, and it won't take us long to fix that. Okay, so now let's go to daily plan. Okay, so this is the daily plan for October 18th to October 19th. And this one's already been done. Now, if you're just creating this, or if you're starting a new one, in the upper left-hand corner, you see, well, this is where we'd add a run. But if you wanted to import weekly plan, you could do that. And in this case, what it would do is for the weekly plan that you wanted to import, you would select that date, that week, right? And then you can cancel. And then for this date on October 18th for this run, it would import the data and pre-populate this. And then all you'd have to do is just edit whatever changed from the time you wrote your weekly schedule, right? So you just go in here. Actually, you can go back if you, I don't know if you even know this, Ricardo. So in the daily plan, you can click on the name and edit it right there. Okay, or you can click on the tractor and edit it right there. Notice we didn't put tractors on the weekly plan because the chances of you having to change a tractor are at least 50%. So I didn't put tractors on the weekly plan. It's just names, and you're really just not really worried about your tractor schedule. You're worried about your personnel schedule. And then you have the truck assigned. So we can close that. Okay, so what does this look like? If you click on edit for this first line here, and what we've done is really the same screen. We've gone in on this date. Now we've said this run does not repeat, okay? But we're going to show you that you could repeat it if you wanted to. We're going to show you another way if you were adding another one, if you wanted to edit this. But this is what it looks like with all the data in. So we've picked Ryan Briley out of our driver list. Okay, let's click on that drop down. And this is all your active drivers. Okay, so if you keep your employee registry updated, which maybe you lose a driver, right? Let's say you have a driver quit, then your workflow should be to go into employee registry, put in that driver's termination date, and make him inactive. And then he will not show up on this list anymore, but he's still in your system. You still have all that data. And we have another function that I haven't spec'd out yet that I meant to do, that employment verification. We got to make sure we do that. It's probably on the backlog list and I missed it. Anyway, then you got the name of your run, what type of run it is, where is it, what's the origin, and what's the time. This is really important. You want to put in the departure date and the departure time, okay? You need to tell your drivers what time that run leaves. Don't leave it up to them to figure it out. They'll forget day to day. At least they'll tell you they forgot. I go so far on my schedule as to put in pre-trip time. Notice up in the upper right-hand corner, pre-trip is always 30 minutes before departure time. So I tell people what time to be at work. And I micromanage the hell out of it. They cannot say they don't know. And then, so here's the destination, here's the arrival time. If you have any remarks, maybe FedEx wants you to take a particular trailer that day. Maybe they want you to be at the gate at a particular time. We put any number of remarks in there. And then this is where you assign the truck. Now, before we assign truck, on driver, if that driver's CDL is expired, or if his DOT medical card is expired, or if he's inactive in your employee registry for any reason, he will not show up. You can't put him in there. So you cannot schedule a driver who is not eligible to drive. That's something that we put in there to as a fail-safe. Same thing on tractors. If 159731 is down in the vehicle registry, you cannot choose it. So you can't choose a driver who's not eligible to drive, and you cannot choose a tractor that's down in the system. You'll either have to correct that data, or you'll have to schedule somebody else or another truck. The other reason it's important that you put your times in is the system will not allow you to schedule a driver or a tractor at the same time. When you run as many tractors as I do, that you screw that thing up 5 times a day. So this prevents you from doing that. It will not make that tractor available or that driver available if it's already been scheduled. Does that make sense? Let's go back to daily plan and click on add. Okay, so this is the feature I wanted to show you. So repeat. So if you have a everyday run, then you would click, if you have a 7-day-a-week run, you would click daily. If you have a run that's not repeating, this is a one-off that just got added, you would put does not repeat. If you have a run that only runs on weekends or only runs on weekdays, you can select all of that. And then when you select that repeat function, that recurrence function, then you can say, well, how long is this recurrence going to go on? So in this case, it's going to go on daily, indefinitely. Right? Or if you click, it's not indefinitely, then you can say it's going to, maybe it's only going to go for 2 weeks, and you're going to put that in. So you have to, what does this mean? It means that every day when you open up the schedule, so tomorrow when you open up the schedule for on 10/19, this run will already be there. You won't have to rebuild it. So if you're repeating all your runs every day, you will build your schedule one time, and it will repeat every day. You never have to rebuild it. You just have to edit it each day on who's the driver and who is the tractor. So we tried to make it as easy as possible. And so then again, you just select all the data that we just looked at. And remember, you have to build a round trip. So this entire system is built like what you would see in the settlement. And the settlement is on dispatches. So you dispatch from one FedEx location to another FedEx location, and then you dispatch yourself from that location back. Okay, so that's how you build one round trip in the system. It's 2 legs, same way it would be on the settlement. So that's how you schedule drivers. Now, so let's cancel out of that and let's talk to them about how you can email the schedule. Okay, so if you look up you see these little blocks down the side here, right? These are action squares. So if you click on that to schedule the entire schedule, you're going to send by email. Would you confirm the daily plan distribution? You would have built this daily plan distribution list, right? We showed you how to do that earlier. And then if you say yes, bam, out goes the schedule to all your drivers, whoever you put on the distribution list.